Hello and welcome back to Tucking It Up. My name is Tuck, and on this channel I like to play around with makeup, as you can see. I also like to talk about video games and the X-Men. Today's video is going to be focused on makeup though, and the impetus for this was that I recently got the Viseart Petit Pro 8 Solstice palette. I'd never worked with Viseart before, so I was really excited to give it a go. So if you're interested to see how I got here, please be sure to watch the rest of this video. I want to try a little bit of a new format today. So instead of kind of, showing you like the look and describing like each step, I'm going to be, it's going to be a relatively simple look today. So maybe I'm going to try a little bit more of kind of a chat kind of format. So let's get started. I'm going to begin by doing a quick overview of the palette. So as the name implies, right, it's called Petit Pro. It's one of their smaller palettes. Just going to hold up the box so you can see kind of how big it is. It's really quite tiny, but it's more like compact, I would say, than necessarily, because there's a lack of product. It's actually really, I find it really quite cute, actually, this packaging. So I'll put up the shades right here. As you can see, there are 8 shades. And it's quite neutral. It's a little bit on the warmer side of neutral. You get 4 mattes. They say 3 shimmers and 1 duochrome. I just don't have very good neutrals. And sometimes it's just really nice to have those neutrals to, blend things out at the edges, even if you're doing like a much stronger look. Or, sometimes you just feel like I just want to do something a little bit low maintenance, something a little bit simpler. And so for me, this palette is, sort of the perfect like color combination, the perfect color story for that sort of thing. Most of them are really, I find them very usable. I find them quite flattering to my skin tone, to my eye color, all that sort of thing. The one shade that I kind of really dislike is the duochrome one. That's that pink shade all the way at the end. It just doesn't look good on me. I don't know. I don't think a lot of pinks work really well on my skin tone. They have to be quite warm pinks generally to work well. This one has a bit of a kind of a blue, I guess, whether it's a duochrome or because of some shimmer that they put in it, it's kind of got it's a bit cooler, and so it just doesn't look great on me. But otherwise, all the other shades I found work quite well. So if you have your skin tone is close to mine and you want to get this palette, I think you'll be quite happy with it, and you'll find that you can get a lot of use out of it. Okay, so with the preamble out of the way, let's go ahead and get into today's look. So the first step is I'm going to take that lightest beige shade, it's called Languor, and I'm going to use that as kind of a little bit of a brow bone highlight. So for me, I find that because my brow bone is already kind of prominent, I typically don't want to emphasize it that strongly, so I'm just going to do this quite lightly. I'm just going to take this like flat blending brush. It's got some of the color already on it, and I'm just going to place it right kind of underneath where I'm going to draw in the arch of my eyebrow later. Now that we have our brow bone highlight down, I'm going to take the shade Crescendo, which is kind of this light brown. I'm going to use that as the transition color. I'm going to kind of place it all over to help with the blending and also just to even out the color of my eyelids. We're going to go for a bit of a rounder shape today, so you can kind of see what I'm doing there. Right, I'm pulling it upwards a little bit, but then ultimately more round. And then I'm blending that into the brow bone highlight, and then I'm just going to take that, drag it down under my eye just a little bit. So the holidays are approaching, which I kind of am happy about, but at the same time, I don't know, this year has been so weird, right? I'm sure for a lot of, for everyone. There hasn't been anyone I've spoken to who hasn't expressed some really like often very mixed emotions about 2020. For me, it's been a very hard year, and there's many there in many ways I am very lucky. I have no illusions about that, I suppose. I've been my professionally, actually things are going really well. And on a personal note, like in terms of my like relationship with my husband and all of that, and with my family, there's been no issues, no problems, and thankfully, most everyone I know has been able to stay in good health. So that's a miracle. But on the other hand, it's just been really hard to just kind of see all of the really all of the suffering and the anguish that's been that's I guess come to the surface this year. Not just because of the pandemic, but also with the Black Lives Matter protest, long overdue, right? And then just the increased awareness that I think a lot of really great activists are bringing around trans matters, and how vulnerable trans people, especially trans women of color, are. It's good, but at the same time, it's also painful because I think they're all like very necessary things, but it's always hard to look into the mirror and see things that you don't like. Not treating our fellow human beings well is definitely it's just a horrible thing. Yeah, I guess. Sorry, I'm just having a lot of trouble really articulating it well, and then of course having to try and do my makeup at the same time. It's not helping because I'm not. This is not. This is a simple look, but it's not quite at the autopilot stage yet. Okay, so that's the kind of the transition, the base kind of laid down. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the shade Summertide, which is kind of the medium brown. And I'm going to place it mostly on the outer corner and then the somewhat in the inner corner. I'm going to actually leave the center of my eyelid pretty. I'm not going to really put Summertide on it because I kind of have a little bit of a. I want to kind of have I guess a bit of a spotlight / halo eye effect. So I'm just tapping the color that Summertide into my outer corner, blending it into the socket gently. So continuing on the theme of like 2020, one major change for me in 2020 was I started this channel. At this point, there's like it's to call it, there's not it's not like a big channel by any means, right? It's if you look at the current number of views, like if I hit like 20, I'm happy. If I hit 50 on something, I'm overjoyed. But the reason I started this, and I would love for this to be big and maybe even big enough that it could be something that I could devote like a significant chunk of my time and effort, energy towards. But I've just been having a lot of fun learning how to film and how, so many YouTubers, honestly, they make this seem so easy. And it's not, right? It's it's like that. I guess it's like any type of performance. The secret is, you want to make your audience think it is easy, it is effortless, that anyone could do it. But it turns out there's a lot of matters that you have to consider that aren't easy to solve. And so it's really given me, this experience so far has really given me a new appreciation for just how much work, my favorite like YouTubers put into their content. I follow a lot of YouTubers who are maybe not like huge, right? So they might get like 20, 10 to let's say 30,000 views on a video, which is great, right? Which is a lot of views, but they're not like in the millions, right? So, I don't know like from a financial perspective how all of that works out, but clearly they put a lot of thought, a lot of effort, a lot of passion into what they're creating. Even if this channel, even if all of this content doesn't actually go anywhere, like that's not the point. The point for me actually is that I'm doing something, I'm able to learn a new skill and express myself, and whatever happens along the way, I'm happy. And I also recognize that at the same time, I'm really blessed in that I don't have to necessarily like rely on this, which is a very difficult, I think, a very difficult sort of like career or professional path to follow. So, to summarize, mad props to all of the YouTubers who put in, who make this look so easy when it really isn't. I've been ranting a little bit, or rambling a little bit, so I'm going to go do the other eye without talking, and I'll see you in just a bit. I also took Summertide, deepened it a little bit in the outer corner, and just gently pulled it down to the lower lash line. So the next step is I'm going to go in with the shade Dur. I might be saying that wrong. It's spelled D-U-I-R, but anyway, it's that darkest, like sort of chocolate brown shade. I'm going to use that to add some dimension to the outer corner, and then I'm going to pull it onto the lower lash line as well. Be sure, of course, to, well, I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it, right? It depends on what effect you're going for. But for today, make sure to connect the upper, sort of the color on the upper lid, upper lash line, to the one on the lower lash line. Alrighty then. So now I'm going to blend that out a bit, soften it. Go in with my number 20 again, just clean that off. Okay. Bend around, bend around. It's kind of what I keep saying in my head when I just remind myself which shape I'm going for. Okay, that's pretty good then. So now let's work on the lid a bit. As I mentioned earlier, we're kind of going for a bit of a spotlight effect today, right? So that's why like I left the center portion of my lid relatively untouched so far. We're going to put in eventually the shade Fervor, which has a shimmer to it on that part of the lid. But as a base and to help lighten everything, I'm actually going to go in with a combination of Crescendo and Summertide. And I'm just going to use my Sonia G Builder Pro because I do want to pack it a little bit strongly, because just to act as a nice base for that shimmer. Brighten it up, concentrating the color in the center, and then I'm just patting gently, at the edges to kind of blend it in with everything else. I don't want it to be, it should read lighter in that center, but I don't want it to be so stark. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to move in with the, I'm going to go in with the shade Fervor, which is that kind of metallic. It's described as a lemon meringue with a shimmer finish. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. I'm actually going to use my finger to apply it because I do want quite high impact, and I always find like whenever it's like a shimmer shade or metallic, right? I just like using my fingers, I guess. So take that finger and then just kind of pat it again, concentrating mostly on the center and then diffusing it out. Go, and then let me do the other side before I blend it. So one thing I have, I guess one good thing to have come out of 2020, not that there's, right, again, very much. So is that I think I've really started appreciating just how important it is that you're using good quality tools. Um, so I've really invested. Yeah, it's not like I even do my makeup that much, really. But just having, if you can afford it, having like good quality brushes. Actually, I find it does make a big difference. So if you invest, and you don't have to necessarily go out and spend hundreds of dollars or even $100. The strategy that I took was I looked at which brushes I use the most. Backstory: before this year, all of my brushes were just like off of Amazon. There was like those $20 packs that you get, 15 brushes, and they were fine. They did the job, but I just felt like I wanted to see what it was like to get an upgrade. And so my strategy was I kind of identified the brushes that I used the most, and where I thought I would see have the biggest sort of like difference in experience after the upgrade. And I said, okay, let me start getting like a kind of mid-range brush in that category, right? So for like a crease slash blending brush, I just the first one I got was the Goss 19, which is about $25, I want to say. Which again, you're like, oh, I could get 15 brushes for $25 or just this one. So at some level, it feels like it doesn't make sense, but uh, it it really, I think, changed. Um, it really did change the way I apply makeup, and it made the process just so much more pleasurable because everything went laid down nicely. Whether one disadvantage I found of using like synthetic brushes is that they might work really quite well actually with mattes, but because I do like shimmers and metallics and satins and that sort of thing, I always had trouble getting the results I wanted with the cheaper brushes. And then when I switched to kind of the Wayne Goss, Sonia G, that level, I really, really like them. I haven't really gone above that to I think like the Chiku Hodo brushes. Those are really, really quite expensive. I mean, they seem to produce beautiful results again. But at this point in I guess my development, I'm not sure if I do need to go up to that level. But yeah, long story short, your tools, they're not, if you have no skill, and I'm not saying I have a lot of skill, but I'm just saying like they're not a substitute, right, for skill or ability or sort of knowledge. But if you do have all of those things or some quantity of those things, they can really enhance the results of your work. Okay, so that's further down and blended in. I think that's actually really quite pretty. Okay, so we're almost done. Last step is I want to do kind of bring some brightness to my inner corner, and I'm going to do that with the shade that not Crescendo, Langer, which is the one I used to highlight my brow bone earlier, and I'm going to take that on that Wayne Goss number 5, the pencil brush, and just apply it to the inner corner. Yeah, I kind of dig that. Okay, so let's line the eyes now. I'm actually going to just go ahead and do this off camera because there's no way I'm going to be able to talk through it. So I'll see you in just a bit. Okay, so I did my usual for liner, which is I tight line both upper and water lash line. And today I used the Maybelline Tattoo Studio in Bold Brown. I actually really love this liner. I kind of bought it originally because I couldn't find another liner that I really liked. And I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible, whatever. And then it really was such a nice surprise. So the other thing I did on the upper lash line is that I took that Duo shade, that darkest brown that you see in the outer corner, and I used that to just kind of set the pencil, and also just to kind of reinforce it, give it a little bit more smokiness. Okay, let's move on to brows. Let's see, where is all of my stuff for brows? Okay, just gonna keep it very simple because, as you might know by now, I just don't like overcomplicating my brows. So I'm gonna go in with kohl pencil on an angled brush from Rimmel. The kohl pencil is from Rimmel, and just kind of more like fill it in. Doesn't have to be like very carved out brows or very strong ones. Since the eye look is not super strong today, I'm just going to do a little bit of an arch. Just really, for me, it's all about filling in the tail. I have a very, I guess, interesting relationship with eyebrows. Well, maybe not that interesting, but it's like my least favorite thing to do. I do realize it's quite important, right? Because it does frame your face, and because eyebrows are something that's really noticeable, it has a big impact on your overall look. But I just find it so boring to do. I'd much rather, maybe it's just because, unless I go through the trouble of blocking out my eyebrows, right, I can't really like play around with the shape that much, or like even the color, for instance. So I personally find eyebrows, a lot on the boring side. But that's just me. I guess there are a lot of people who can do incredible eyebrows of all varieties, and there's all these products that you can use, but I cannot give a damn. I think the eyebrows on my left side are actually I ran into a door corner years ago, and I think that left, and it was on my left, sort of this part right here. That's the one that collided with the door. I'm quite clumsy, so that's why I think it's a little bit sparser compared to my right side. Okay, so now just brushing. So I can blend all the color. Because I also just don't like, if you're doing drag and you're painting on the eyebrows, that's one thing. But for myself, I never like a very like super carved out eyebrow. I just don't think it looks really good on me. Again, unless, I'm doing like drag and I've already covered my existing eyebrows, and it's like, I'm doing like some sort of alternate universe fantasy, right? But that's not what we're doing today. So soft brows, or low effort brows, you could also say. That works. Okay, so yes, last step is the lips. And because everything is quite soft, quite simple today, similarly with the lips, going to be easy. I'm just going to use this lip tint from, where is it? It's from Etude House. It's their Dear Darling tint. I don't think they even make it anymore, but like it comes in this like cute little popsicle style packaging. And this color is PK004. And it's basically the color, it's very close to the color of my lips. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to literally put some on my finger, and then tap it in. As much as I like, doing more dramatic, sort of looks like last videos, that Dark Cosmic Lysandra thing, whenever I do simpler ones like this, I'm always like, oh, it's kind of nice not to have to be so like precise about everything, and where like your margin of error actually is a little bit larger because it's not as strong, it's not as dramatic. So like my lips naturally, they're not super symmetrical. I'll just let you see that. But when I'm wearing dark lipstick like I was last week, like very dark lipstick, I do have to work quite a bit to make sure that they do look symmetrical because otherwise it just comes across like really weird. And the same thing about my lower lip, like the curve again, it's not like the two sides are not mirror images of each other, right? And so when I'm doing a dark lipstick, I have to correct that, otherwise it just looks weird to me. But then when I'm doing something like this, where it's just like, oh, they just get this lip tint and, put a tiny bit of color, a wash of color on, it's so much easier because it's like, it's fine if they're not completely symmetrical, if they're not, there's no line even, right? If it's not like perfectly within that lip line, if everything's a little bit blurred, actually sometimes adds to the look because again everything's supposed to be a little bit softer. So that's today's look then. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. If I was kind of going to like a party where it's just someone's house and it was kind of on the more casual side, but I still wanted to like have some fun, this might be something that I throw on. And then regarding, the Viseart shadows themselves, like I said, this is the first time I'm using them, but I'm so impressed by just how well they performed, how easy they were to work with, and just how nicely the colors laid down on my skin. So definitely, would really strongly consider purchasing more from Viseart as the need arises. So if you liked today's video, please be sure hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends. I guess I'm just not very good at this whole social thing. But until next time, thanks for watching and bye.